Yeah, I think Vlad's going to be real happy with that. Now what we're going to try to do in the next, well, maybe week or so, we have several parts from Vlad here. The seat is one of them. He's got 4 pieces of the Benelli bodywork that have been, I don't know what you would say. He's used some kind of paint remover on this. They have a lot of work to do to prepare the surface on this. So we have 4 of these. So the plan is we're going to do 1 set of bodywork. This is green, that candy apple green. We have a hugger to do that's got to be just clear coated. A Suzuki part that needs to be cleaned up. But the big part that he wanted me to do right away, and this is unfortunate. He said he was having some security cameras installed in his house. And the guy dropped the camera on the seat, and you can see what that's all about. Now, it looks like you would think, oh, well, that's no big deal. That looks like a very small little innocuous repair. It isn't, for one reason. This decal here, when I spray this white, we don't have this decal. So what we're going to try to do is I'm going to try to improvise this a little bit. And like the one we did for Dale, this looks like it would be a couple hours of work. This is a really difficult repair. We're going to give it our best in the next couple days, but we're going to start today. And for people that don't do this kind of work, they don't realize sometimes a little repair like this can be worse than if you had this whole piece destroyed, but you didn't have to deal with this decal. Now, if we had this decal, and Vlad doesn't have it, of course, so I'm going to have to improvise here, and I haven't really figured that part of it out yet. But step 1 on this, the first step on anything before you do any kind of body work, and this is part of a BIMOTA, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know, we're going to get some simple green and wipe this and let it sit about 15 minutes, and then just basically do simple green again, and then get some prep salt. We want to get all the wax off the part before we do anything. Now, I haven't had my coffee yet this morning, so what I'm going to do is just spray the simple green on. Let this sit while I'm having my coffee. This will hopefully get most of or all of the wax off of this. Again, we'll find out. But step 1 on any kind of body repair is get all the wax and grease and everything off of it. And I'm sure this part has many coats of wax. Now, it's funny, Vlad was telling me just how expensive and unobtainable some of the parts are now, because Brad collects collector bikes, or I guess that's the right word, or exotic bikes. And I don't. I collect junk bikes. Well, I really didn't know how expensive some of these parts are. Some of them are thousands of dollars, and that's if you can find them. So being able to do these kind of repairs is, well, not everybody in the world knows, or they can do it. Now, as an example, most of the people that do professional body work on cars would look at this and go, oh, I just throw some Bondo on it and that's the end of it. But you're not going to Bondo this part, trust me. That's not a good way to do this. And I know, because I tried to do it many years that way, and it never really met my needs. But we want to get the whole part clean. You can never emphasize to somebody enough how important it is. If you're handling a part that's all full of silicone and grease, especially from an old motorcycle, you really are, every time you touch it, you're picking the grease up on your glove. Once you pick it on your glove, it's in the paint. Now it's in the tape. It's just a real pain. So the first thing, and I always emphasize, you're going to do your own body work, you've got to get it clean. You got a simple green, you got to get it. The prep sole is important. If you can get your hands on some Sickens M600, it's way better than this stuff. But unfortunately, Nancy Pelosi won't let them sell it here. Anyway, now that that's clean, I want to totally dry it off. I know everybody thinks this is all overkill, and oh, you don't really have to do that, and well, it's just like building a house. If you build a house and the first thing you do is use, instead of cement blocks, you use sponges, house probably is not going to be that good. And This, trust me, there's going to be a lot of hours going to doing this repair. I don't want to have it that it comes back and at the end of it, it doesn't look like I want it to look. And they really did it. Actually, this part is really nice quality, so it's going to be a real challenge. Now, the next thing is I want to back mask off everything that we're not going to paint. Now, I always try to do the exact edge, the edge where our paint is going to end, with blue fine line tape as opposed to masking tape. This will give us a nicer edge. And we have a little tiny trick we can do to, we don't know if we can do it yet, till we actually get done here. And what that does, that gives you a nice paint edge in the final product. And once I have those edges nice, the rest of this is pretty cut and dry. Back masking with tinfoil a la the late Walt Prey. Always like to give him credit for the things he shared with us over the years. And the tinfoil method of back masking is a good one. Something you can take right to the bank. Okay, next thing we're doing here, take some 1000 grit paper. Because I don't want to destroy or ruin the finish all around it. I want to be real careful now about doing this. And some of this is going to come popping up, I know that. This won't hurt the decal because we're going to re-clear the decal, of course. We're going to re-clear this whole area, but this will be just to get a bond onto the paint. Now what my plan was here, and Vlad bought the exact matching paint for this. We got it from Gavin's from the now famous Stevie Wonder Ray Charles paint mixing company. Of course it really almost never matches, but sometimes it does. But anyway, and if you're doing a Ducati or an MV Agusta, it's fun dealing with them. Anyway, we want to get this all scuffed in, and then I want to work that area that's going to have to be repaired with CA. I had a plan in my mind. I was thinking about this overnight, so if this works the way I want it, it'll be very similar to Dale's repair on the RZ350, which is on a previous video. And I was amazed how well that came out. That really did come out well. But number one is to get this scuffed up. Can't do anything. You're not going to paint over. There's not really a realistic way of painting over shiny paint and expecting it to last for the long haul. Okay, so now we know what we're dealing with here. Now we have, let me look at it up close. Macro lens, but you can see there's a part of the paint that actually is peeled up off of the area around it. So if you were to just put Bondo on this or red lead or something, it's not going to really do anything. This has to be done the old-fashioned way. Now the whole thing to remember is we use Brodak CA, thin CA. This is capillary material. So if it's our lucky day, what's going to happen? We don't know if it is. We're going to put a drop or two of that on there. Capillary means it goes into every little nook and cranny. We don't ever stop moving the paper towel, or you'll be really sorry. Now, as I start to sand this with a block, each time I sand it, because we're going to go through in spots, I'll just keep redoing the CA, and hopefully, what we need right now is a perfectly flat, hard block. Now this is 1000 grit, soapy water, and a block, and I'm just going to work this area, hard block, and this is probably the best trick you can get off of the video is to use this CA in this method because we're not going down any further than we have to here. Let me dry this up. And if I candle it, and I don't think you can see this with this lens here, there's just one more little spot we have to deal with. So what I do, just repeat step 1, step 2. One little drop. You'd be amazed that capillary material goes right down into every molecule of it. And then to just the same thing, 1 drop of water. And we're going to do this over and over and over, probably 15, 20 times. I won't do it all on camera, of course, because you'll be bored to death is what will happen. Now each time I do it, the area will get more and more level, but we're building CA up, not Bondo. And actually it's getting pretty good already. I'm guessing 4 or 5 more shots with that and then we'll be good to go. Now it's been about an hour of sanding and grinding and 1000 grit and wet sanding, but eventually we get to the point, and I want to try to candle this, but I know it's probably not going to work as well as I want. We have got it flat and level, and we've got the adhesion real good. Now the next thing I got to figure out is how I'm going to protect that decal. I've been thinking about that, and there's really no easy way, but I'm going to see what I can come up with. Now I'm going to try something that I've done in the past that's worked with mixed results, to say the least. I took a piece of packaging tape, ran it up on my t-shirt about 10 times so that it wouldn't be overly sticky. And I want to see if there's just one chance in a million that I'll be able to do this. And I don't know if I can, because this is a really complex decal. We're going to find out. Now what I'm hoping I can do is just get the most of it covered. And it's a font it's not the usual font that you would have for this. And if the paint matches real good, it won't matter. Because the edges on this are kind of funky, they're not crisp. They're not crisp anyway. So we're going to find out if I can razor around all this and then pull off the extra tape. Now if you decide to try something similar to this on a complex decal shape like this, there's a couple of tricks. First off, the packaging tape should be thick packaging tape, not the thin stuff. And also rub it up on a t-shirt at least 10 times, because otherwise it's going to be too sticky. And we don't need this to stick down. Well, we're not building a bridge here, that's for sure. We're not mounting an engine. And then it's just a question of carefully picking out, and I think this will work. Now there's a couple of things that I had thought about, because I thought about this for the last couple days, how I was going to do this. The trick is going to be, if I can get it to work, is to get this done with an airbrush, not a spray gun. The reason an airbrush puts the paint on a lot thinner and smoother, there'll be less orange peel, less stuff for me to bury. And once I get all that out, now I can pick out in between the letters, pick out around the dot, and we're ready to mix some paint up for the airbrush. So if you look up to the light, you can see that I've got, just roughly, I've got that covered up. Now, I'm going to be spraying here, so the only objective here is not to get little white dots on that. I'm going to try to spray right up to it, spray around here, and then see how the color blend is. And of course, then I have to pull the tape off before I put the clear on. But luckily, we have a great day for painting. This should dry up in 15-20 minutes. Now, because Vlad's got special paint that he had mixed, the Stevie Wonder crew got him this. Look, it's Subaru paint. Imagine you buy a BIMOTA and it turns out to be Subaru paint. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, we'll clean up the airbrush, make sure it's perfectly clean, because this is white. Spray some thinner in it, and mix some of this paint up 50-50. Now, the key to this is going to be to use a low penetrating thinner. You don't want to use a gloss thinner. I don't want it going in and softening up the paint underneath it or having any contamination issues if possible. A very low penetrating thinner is the answer. And having it your lucky day. Now, just as an example, whenever you have thinner, moderate reducer, this is like a mid-temp, and that's fine. But this is what you want when you're doing a repair. You want it fast. You don't want the material to go in and make a problem. So luckily we have some of each. I even have some of the slow for working in on some conditions that we want high penetration. But this is low penetration, mid penetration. Now this, of course, is going to be a delicate at best. One of the things to remember, as I always remember from airbrushing days, I don't want to hit the airbrush here. What I want to have happen is and it's going to definitely take several coats. I can see already we got at least 4 or 5 coats to cover this. It's white. But by doing this, I can kind of blend it in. It won't be obvious that we made a touch-up. And I'll let each coat dry about 5 minutes. Now, it took way more coats than I thought it would to get that touched up, but it actually came out pretty good. Now the question is to peel this up. Always a little easier to do it without gloves too. And carefully get up all the tape. If there was any question here that this tape was going to be a problem, I'd hit it with a hairdryer, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. And I think we got a nice blend here. I guess we're going to find out. Talk is cheap. And this is going to be a little time consuming because I got to do it. The tape is very thin where I've cut it around the letters, and I've got to be real careful I don't make a mess here. And as soon as I get this all done, it'll be time to mix some clear up. Now we're going to mix up some 5-star clear. This is going to get 2 coats. This is a tack rag, by the way, just to try to get some of the dust off. A little bit of it anyway. And I found this clear is just perfect for doing these kind of repairs. And what I'll do is get enough clear on here. I get 3 separate coats, about 20 minutes apart. In this warm temperature, it's coming up on 80, 90 degrees here. It'll dry up beautifully. And then that last coat, I'll be able to do some 2000 grit paper, get out any little specks, run a buffing wheel over it for them. That should be great. Now, because I have clear in the gun, I'll try to get this part, get a coat of clear on this, sand this out with some 1000 grit again, prep it. Prep's all pretty much a repetition of what we did before. And what we're trying to do here is just make this a little bit shinier than it is, put a nice high quality finish on it. And we have to wait about 20 minutes between coats, maybe in this temperature out there now. It could be 10 minutes, I don't know, I'm monitoring it, but instead of sitting here and drinking coffee, I'll get started on this part and see how this is going to come out. And it's all these little details that to me make a bike, to me, more enjoyable to ride. Just more pride of ownership, and everything's nice and shiny. No flat black. Nothing flat black. No prejudice there, that's for sure. Anyway, once I get this prepped up, this will be ready. I'll shoot some clear on it. Yeah, I think Vlad's going to be real happy with that. I think he's going to be real happy with that. That's real nice. And that extra coat of clear, which obviously not all the factories do. They try to keep these parts looking flat though. We don't want anything flat at all. Yeah, nice the weave of that carbon comes out. Wow. Now we're going to get one more coat of clear on that before the day is over. Get everything out into the garage, drying overnight. The next step will be to, next day we get to work on it. It's always good to let it dry a day or two, even 3 days. We get some 2000 grit paper, buff that out, get any little dust. There's always some dust in it, especially this time of year. There's pollen in the air and everything. That's why I try to get it sprayed and get it into the garage as soon as possible. Now at the end of every work session, what I try to do is just do my I call it the perp walk. Yep, that is going to be just peachy keen. I think that's going to be a perfect repair. I think Vlad's going to be real happy. I know he's going to be happy with this. If you're not happy with these carbon fiber parts after they have the clear coat, oh man. And the nice thing is you can do that at any point in time, from the time when a bike is brand new to when it's like this guy here, that he's 35 years old. Anyway, we may even have enough time this afternoon to go for a short ride. And once these BIMOTA parts are done, and I think these are going to go, I hope they're going to turn out to be real nice in the end. Which will finish up Mark's part, and then we're free for a summer riding. I can't wait. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for joining us.